Hey guys!
What's up? What's up?
It feels like Thursday.
It is Thursday.
Oh, I mean, it feels like Friday. Well, it feels like a good Thursday. Clearly we're having a good time, right? Sweet. Hey guys, how you doing?
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. It's a great day to be alive. So blessed to be alive. I'm going to shut the music off. I cannot say how blessed I feel to be coming to you today from the comfort of our home, especially given such heavy events for today. Today is Thursday, November 8th. And most of America and the world woke up to yet another mass shooting, and I shed my tears this morning. I was in a really sad place, but really wanted to get excited, or I got excited from the prospect of talking to you all.
But we definitely want to give our condolences to the individuals affected by that terrorist act, the families of the people affected, and we just send our thoughts and prayers and wishes for things to actually start to change in a better, smarter direction.
And we sincerely hope that you and your family are safe now and always.
Absolutely.
That is our greatest wish for you. All right, guys. So what are we talking about today? Was there something else from an announcement standpoint?
No.
I'm starting to feel heavy all over again.
Thank God it's Thursday. You started with that.
Yes, it is Thursday. So we're here to talk to you about what's really keeping you broke.
And how to fix it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So simple. And if you guys follow us over on Instagram, you probably saw from our stories that we were going to be going live about this. And I shared on there that the reason why we decided to cover this topic is because so many people feel like their finances are happening to them. Their bank account is happening to them and not for them, or in their benefit or on their behalf. And it becomes easy to get stuck into a cycle where you're just constantly trying to stay afloat. You're like a little duck, which is very fitting with the sweater that I'm wearing today. Like a little duck staying afloat. So everything looks fine from the outside. Like ducks are super peaceful on the water, right? But then under the water, they're swimming away. And so sometimes it can feel like that financially. And I know we've been there, and it's not a good feeling. And so we found there's a very simple solution and strategy to get out of it.
Yeah, and like most things in life that I've ever experienced, good or bad, most things are pretty simple. But as humans, we kind of if it's simple, what do you do?
Take it for granted?
No, what do we do if it's simple, but you make it what? Complicated.
You overcomplicate.
As humans, we complicate things because typically we don't have a plan, and we run from what we're afraid of. And I found those combinations of those two things, not having a plan, and then, if something gets imposing or gets scary or just stressful, we tend to kind of duck our heads in the sand. And most of the things that I've ever learned or overcome have come from really just learning how something works and not running from it anymore. Whether it's, being in debt, whether it's, lack of cash flow, whether it's, trying to figure out things in our relationship. Most things simply are solved by those two things: learning, what's going on, and not running from it anymore, right? So,
I like our pictures in the background. Okay, so do you want to tell your story?
I do. And this whole live and subsequent blog is really about what's really keeping you broke, and it's really about the subject of taxes. And as someone who has a little bit of experience, I'm always miffed at how many people underestimate the impact of taxes in their life, right? I mean, drastically underestimate the role of taxes. But here's a fact. Literally and fully, half of every dollar you'll ever earn, okay, every dollar you ever earn in your lifetime, half of that, you lose it to taxes, some form of taxes. So I didn't have the heart to rip it in half. Did you want to rip it?
No.
we're very much too respectful of money.
We
But
care
take
about
that
our
dollar,
dollars and our pennies, and
take
we
it
care
whether
about
it's
it
a
all.
dollar, whether it's a 20, or whether it's 100, rip it in half. Every dollar you've earned, literally, most people give away about half of it in some form of taxes. What kind of taxes?
I was gonna say, and now some people might be saying, well, that's not true. I'm not earning in a 50% tax bracket. So what are you talking about?
So what we're talking about, the cumulative effect of taxes in our life. So we're talking about income taxes. Okay, we're talking about real estate taxes if you own property. We're talking about sales taxes if you buy just about anything. Mm-hmm. We're talking about gas taxes if you ever fuel your vehicle. We're talking about estate taxes. I mean, literally, there's we could probably do a whole video and training on every single tax that's levied upon us as citizens. But the reality is, if you combine all of those different taxes, right, fully 45 to 50% of your earning power just goes right out the window in taxes. Right. So it's easy to see when you think about that, mm-hmm. right? It's not your home, right?
Right.
It's not your car expenses. It's
your
not travel. It's not feeding yourself and your family. It's not childcare. It's not any of the things most people get stressed out about or get pissed off about paying.
And how did you open your eyes to taxes being such a big expense?
So my story started back in 2001. And at the time I was in my early 20s, single. I was living life. I was in the car business and I was making good money. And this one year I was referred to a woman to do my taxes. And this woman literally changed the course of my life. And she has made such an impact on me, going forward the last 16, 17 years since then. I've kind of made it my business, my personal goal and mission to try to impact as many people in such a way that this woman did my life. So she did my taxes this one year. I paid...
when was that? 2000?
This would have been 2001, and I was getting my my yearly income taxes done. And this one year, I paid almost $19,000 in federal taxes alone. Again, I was single, no dependents, didn't know about any of the things that we're going to kind of shed some light on today. And I got just clobbered, hit over the head with taxes. And even before I sat down with her to do my taxes, I didn't know what we're going to talk about today, right? Mm-hmm. But I did know that I hated that feeling. I hated looking at that paycheck. This is back when they don't do paychecks anymore, do they?
No, direct deposit.
Direct deposit, sign of the time. But I would get that.
That just shows you how long you haven't worked for.
Right. But I would get that paycheck, and I would read that paycheck, and I would look at the money I'd earned, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I looked at all of the withdrawals and deductions, and I looked at how much was taken out for this and that, and how much I was left with, and it just gave me a sickening feeling. So. Just to fast forward to it, the woman did my taxes this year, and she gave me some sage advice that, again, would change everything for me, mm-hmm. right? And she did my taxes, and she says, son, we got to find you a business. She says, until you start a business, you are going to, every year, pay this amount of taxes. And she says, I don't care what kind of business it is. At that time, I was in sales. She said, being in sales, you're very, very limited to the things you can write off as a legal tax deduction. Maybe some clothing or this or that, but not much. Mm-hmm. And that, opened my eyes up to what it was. Now, again, I was young. I didn't know exactly what she meant. I just knew the feeling that I had, from earning that money, putting in the time and the effort that I could never get back. And I guess I just felt like, I'm going to be open-minded. Mm-hmm. And thank God I was open-minded. That advice got me down the lane of going into my first business, which was investment real estate. Mm-hmm. And I started, buying rental properties and renovating and building a real estate portfolio. But again, that thinking, that knowledge, that seed that she planted literally got me out of the box. And I have no shame in saying in the years since starting my own business and eventually working for myself totally, I paid a fraction of the taxes that I paid as that last year just working as an employee. Right. And most people, again, they underestimate just what an impact that was. So, ask anybody who, if you know someone who's wealthy or if you know a business owner, ask them about taxes and you'll immediately see how serious they get, because they realize that old saying, it's not what you make,
it's what you keep.
It's what you keep. So that's kind of like my background in a nutshell, my story, and kind of what's propelled me to just look at everything different. And in a year since then, become what I like to call a business missionary.
Right. And I think I would say that that's kind of like your, what do they call it, a fulcrum point? Like such a turning point in your life, because all of your actions in your career, which has spun into your personal life, has been a result of what this woman did for you and taught you.
That was, absolutely.
And I guess on that note, really quick, guys, I do want to say that we are hosting a workshop, a free workshop webinar. It's called the 345 Financial Formula, and totally free. You can sign up at masteryourfinances.club, not .com, masteryourfinances.club/345. So it's the 345 Financial Formula. We're going to be teaching a workshop on that, I think sometime next week. So
you want to make sure you're on that webinar.
So you can go sign up there. There's a link in the description as well. So make sure you do that. So we're going to get into the meat of it. So we kind of alluded that the biggest challenge you face and what's really keeping you broke is taxes, because it is the biggest expense you will ever pay in your entire life. Most of your money will go to that one single category, not anything else. So it is the biggest challenge.
And to add insult to injury, it's not just the fact that it's the biggest single expense that you'll pay in your lifetime, it's the way in which you pay it. So you want to let everybody know what I mean by that and why it's so terrible?
Yeah, you don't want to give Uncle Sam your money first. Anytime that someone gets something first, no different than if you're like at a party and they open the pizza box, the person who picks first is probably going to get the best slice of pizza with the most pepperoni or the best cheese or whatever it is, you know.
The pick of the litter, right?
Right, the pick of the litter. And so you are giving Uncle Sam, you're giving the government the pick of the litter when it comes to your income, and you should be giving that to your family. And the way that you do that is by allowing yourself to get paid, spend, and then taxed, versus taxed and paid at the same time, and then you get to spend what's left.
Right. And just some quick statistic, and we get this right from the IRS.gov website, but the average refund, we're going to talk about tax refunds a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But most people in their mind, they think getting a tax refund is a good thing. They think it's some windfall of cash. No, it's just the opposite. You've literally, like Hallie said, you've literally succumbed and given your money for 12 months out of the year to the government, in essence, an interest-free loan, right? Mm-hmm. So you're playing the bank to the government, but you're not charging any interest. Try going to your bank and asking them for 0% loan. What do you think they'll say to you?
No.
Right?
No way.
The IRS themselves estimate that the average tax refund in the United States is $3,100, $3,100. So what that means in essence is that the majority of people are living their life day in, day out, week in, week out, off of $3,000 less than they could have had by getting more of their money up front. And actually that number is very conservative, because your money has immense value.
I mean, I didn't have a high income job the last time that I was working at a traditional job, but I still got $4,000 back in a refund, which, you know, on a $40,000 income is not
right.
You know what I mean? That's a huge refund on that. So I'm sure people are getting much more than that, and it comes down to. But
here's the interesting part. So the average refund is $3,000. How much is that a month?
It's like $250.
So less than $300, but around, let's call it $300.
Yeah, $250, $300.
So also another statistic that, you know, just mind blowing is that the average, or not the average, but the typical bankruptcy that's filed in the United States could have been prevented with an extra $300 going into the home. Think about that.
And by the time that people get their refund check, they're not spending it on smart things. They end up blowing it on something. Like if you ask most people today in November what they spent their refund check on that they got probably sometime between March and May, they probably couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. But again, think about that. The average, or the majority of people filing for bankruptcy, right, which can turn your life upside down, it could have been avoided with an extra $300 a month. And just so happens that roughly the average amount of money people are sacrificing or giving away every month to get a tax refund is about $300. Right? And even the government, one more thing I just wanted to read off their website. It says, and this is right from IRS.gov, where does your refund come from? It comes from your wallet or purse. When you tell your employer how much to withhold from your paycheck, or if you make an estimated tax payment. It says you may be using the extra withholding as a forced savings method, but Uncle Sam doesn't pay interest on refunds, putting the money in a type of savings account or paying down debt might be a better option. And this is from the IRS themselves.
I think we're going to have to do like a whole video on just tax refunds and reframing people's mind, because it feels good, yes, to get a big check once a year, know that it's coming, and be able to spend on things like maybe that's your vacation money, or maybe that's to get a new car, or to pay off your credit cards once a year, whatever you're using it for. But the issue is that you get paid in January. The IRS is holding that money, not just, let's say, January 2019, right? Or let's just say January 2018, from this year. You worked this year, you gave Uncle Sam your tax money in the form of withholding. You still haven't gotten that money back, and it's been 10 months. You're still not going to get that money back 12 months from that point, which would be January 2019. You're probably not going to get that money back until March, April, or May. So you're talking 12 and like 17 months that they might be holding on to that money that you've already earned in January. And what kind of return could you be getting, or interest could you be saving if you're paying down your debt? So even though it doesn't feel as good to break even, anytime you file your taxes, you just want to break even. You don't want to owe, and you don't want to get a refund.
Because here's the thing, that money, that refund is literally costing you exponentially more in terms of spending power. What do you mean? Well, if you're getting back $3,000 one time off of money you've basically had withheld all year long, if you had that money all year long going to work for you, that $3,000 could easily be worth $10,000 or $30,000. Okay.
In the form of investments.
In the form of investments, in the form of not having cash flow shortages. Here's another just mind-blowing statistic. Last year, American people, or people in the United States, we spent almost $70 billion in late fees, overdrafts, things that typically most people are just a little bit short on. A little bit short.
You overdraw your account $1 and they charge you $35.
Think about that. You're giving the bank your money to hold and invest and make money off of, but if you're short, they have no problem charging you $25 or $30. So that all comes.
If I had the $35, I wouldn't have been
short.
I wouldn't have been short $1 or whatever it was.
It's like one of those ironies until you get on the right side of this, until you master your finances. But again, I just want to drive that point home real quick. 70 billions and billions of dollars we spend because we're just a little bit short of cash, right? And that cash could have come from having more access to our own money, getting out of debt, investing more, having investments in businesses working for you. So that's why I say that $3,000 is worth exponentially more money. But Hallie, isn't tax withholding, isn't that just the way it is? Isn't that how it's always been?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't just say don't hold anything. I can't just put any number on my withholding amount.
But isn't that just the way of the world?
Well, it has to be because they just take it. So how could I get out of it?
Well, what's the history? I want to talk about the history of withholdings.
Okay, let's talk about the history then. What a lot of people don't know is that in the United States, we haven't always had money withdrawn from our check. We haven't always had an income tax. We didn't have an income tax till, let me check my notes because I want to give you guys correct information. Where'd it go? You tell me. Is it 1903?
1940.
Well, the income tax, the 16th Amendment.
That's when income tax started, 1940. Okay. And again, you can kind of speak more toward the details, but from my understanding is that the government needed more money for, take a wild guess.
Right. So here's where I got mixed up on the numbers. So we didn't start having an income tax until the early 1900s, but they would take it, you would pay it at the end of the year. Right. So you would make your income, and at the end of the year would say, this is what I made, this is, whatever percentage the tax was at that time. I think you told me it was like 1% or something.
If you made up to
like $6,000.
$3,000, you only paid 1% in taxes. You had to, at that time, you had to make over $500,000. So in today's numbers, I mean, I don't even know how much that would probably be tens of millions of dollars. And even then, if you made over $500,000, you only paid 6% tax. Right. So compare that to today's tax rates. It's unbelievable.
Astronomical. So in 1940, that's when the 16th Amendment was passed. It was ratified by the state of Wyoming because what was going on in the world? World War II.
World War II. And it's because the government needed more money. the Congress, they thought up this plan of basically coming up with what they call a pay-as-you-go system.
Right, because up until that point, from the early 1900s, I think it was 1903, but don't hold me to that. So from early 1900s until the 30s and the 40s, people just paid it at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But when the government increased their spending tenfold...
Yeah, their spending went up tenfold, so they had to look for ways to get money. So again, they call it pay-as-you-go. I like to call it, they came up with a let's take their money before they can spend it system.
Take it before they can
spend it. Take it before they can spend it. And since then, we've just kind of taken it for granted. And again, that's if you're an employee. Well, the flip side comes when you get, I guess, out of the employee box, mm-hmm. and you basically become a business owner. Because business owners, like you said before, employees, how does the money flow when you're an employee? You work.
They cut a check, but they take your money out before they even cut your check.
Right. So in other words, you work.
And
right?
it happens like simultaneously. They pay you, the money comes out at the exact same time. Like there's no point in which that money comes to you.
Right.
First.
So just in a nutshell, real simple. You work, you get taxed, and then you try to live off what's left.
Right.
Work, tax, live. Mm-hmm. Right. When and what we teach, and we're passionate about it because again, it changed my life, it's changed your life, right. It's changed our life together. What we try to teach people how to do is work, get paid, and pay tax on the difference.
Or work, live, and then pay taxes.
Right. Work. What did I say?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, work, live,
in the other
and then pay
example,
tax on the difference.
live, so I wanted to incorporate live.
Yeah, but hopefully that's coming across. So again,
yeah.
This system of having your money withheld it's not like it's written in the Bible, right? This is relatively new, and even in the history of our young country.
I mean, it's less than 100 years that the government has been taking the taxes as you go.
Right. And again, the difference is back in the 1940s, there was a 1% tax rate, unless you were like basically the equivalent of a mega wealthy person. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're an employee, you're in a tax bracket where you pay about 25 to 33% of your income just in federal taxes.
So, through those decades, we've been fooled into thinking that getting a tax refund is a good thing. And so we want to reframe your thinking on that. But even more so, we want to teach you how to put yourself in a different position from a tax standpoint. Mm-hmm. And there's other, we could really go deep on that. So, and we do in the workshop and then also in our members club, which we can talk about.
Another thing, which is another mind-blowing statistic, mm-hmm. is, again, people vastly, really sadly underestimate how much they pay in taxes and how much they earn. And here's a wild number. Most people, when we do workshops and we do live speaking engagements, I always love the reaction I get. But I tell people that literally everyone in that room is a millionaire. And they always look at me with the side eye like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Well, the fact of the matter is, if you make over $25,000 average for the course of your working life, you've earned over $1 million, right? If you make $60,000 over the course of your life average, you've actually, at that point, you've made $2.4 million. Right. So you're in essence, you've earned $1 million or more. You're a millionaire.
In the course of your life.
Right. But again, remember, what happens between making that money and living and investing?
Right.
Taxes happens. Mm-hmm. So again, out of all of the money you ever make, if you're giving away 45 to 50% of that and then trying to figure it out on what's left, that's when you get into debt. That's mm-hmm. when you get into those late and overdraft fees and all of these little things that are systematically put in place just to parasitically take more and more of your money.
Right. And it's like you have that lack of cash flow because you're getting overtaxed in a way. Mm-hmm. And then you have less money to work with, so then you go into debt and you start to get this rat race going mm-hmm. that is so hard to break unless you do some of our simple solutions.
And that's just really quick for you transition. Mm-hmm. That's why the term living paycheck to paycheck has become as common as have a good day.
Right. And right? I mean, 70% of people don't have $1,000 in savings and couldn't come up with $1,000 in an emergency. So even if you don't feel like you're paycheck to paycheck, if you're part of that 70%, like, there should be an like alarm going off that we need to do something about this, because not only should you have more than $1,000 in savings when you're earning $1 million over the course of your lifetime, but that's like just the first step. There's so many other things that we can be putting in place if we just make some simple shifts, and not shifts that are going to leave you like living off like ramen noodles, like simple shifts that allow you to still live your life. And that's why we came up with this brand, Master Your Finances, because it's not about, like, we're not saying pauper your finances. You're not supposed to live like a peasant or a pauper.
As a matter of fact,
it's about mastery.
It's about mastery. As a matter of fact, in my experience, going back to what one of the first things I said, once you understand the game that you're playing in, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not, once you understand the game you're playing in, the rules, who makes the rules, right?
Yes.
Once you understand that, and then once you come up with a simple plan, you're not afraid of it anymore. And going back to lifestyle, no, it's not about living like a pauper. And as a matter of fact, if you're smart about how you spend and invest and save your money, you live an elevated lifestyle. And that's what we like to teach our community. You don't
your current income.
On your current income. You can live an elevated lifestyle on the exact same money you make now if you learn how to master those finances in the form of taxes and some of the other challenges that you're facing.
And I just, one more thing about taxes before we talk more about the reason why it's not an earning issue, is I was just thinking when you were talking, like, it's no different than, because you're talking about people earning millions of dollars in the course of their lifetime, and we don't put a stress on taxes in our daily life, but the reality is you're earning that $1 million, which is the equivalent of like a lottery winnings. And so many people frame the lottery like, oh yeah, the lottery is $100 million, but you're going to lose half that to taxes. How many times have you heard people say that or reference that? Or maybe you're one of those people who thinks that when you see the lottery jackpots, but you're earning your own lottery winnings through the course of your lifetime, but you don't look at taxes in the same way.
Right. Well, that's why I said most people underestimate taxes, and they're missing the boat. They're missing the boat on the single biggest expense that they can control. There's a lot of things that are out of our control in this day and age, right? Inflation is largely out of our control. We can't control the price of clothing or the price, the real estate prices or the price of gas. You can't control that. You can't control the stock market prices. But what you can control are the types of taxes you pay, right? So the biggest game changer you have the power to control if you understand that game and you learn how to master it.
So in the line of the fact that they'll make $1 million in their lifetime, we found that there are 3 strikes against you when you're earning that $1 million as an employee. And the reality is, in today's world, most people are going to be employees. You can have a side hustle. Anyone can go from employee to entrepreneur, and we encourage you to do that, and we can show you how to do that, definitely. But most people, their everyday experience is being an employee, and there's 3 strikes against you when you're earning your lottery winnings of millions of dollars over your lifetime. And those 3 strikes are, number 1, as an employee, you're taxed at a higher tax bracket than any other type of earnings. The lowest type of earnings or income.
Give them a rundown. So you have the highest are employees. So of course, going back to what the government did to us, the Congress did back in the 40s, the employees are kind of looked almost like as an easy mark. I hate to say it. We've all been there, but employees are an easy mark because the government can take your money, and they figure most people won't become enlightened enough to master their finances. But employees are at the top.
Right.
Who's next?
Sole proprietors.
Sole proprietors.
Business owners.
So sole proprietors will be doctors, lawyers, small business, psychologists, small business people, plumbers, and then you have business owners. Right. So if you own a business, you're paying less, and then who's the lowest? Because you actually, I kind of interrupted you. Investors. So again, there's a method to the madness. If you're ever wondering why things are the way they are, why the Wall Street guys and women, and the politicians are always talking about taxes and things like that, is because most of those people are business owners and they're investors, right? And that was kind of my takeaway from this woman 16 years ago. She basically said, son, you gotta be smart enough to put yourself in some other arenas other than just being an employee at that high tax bracket.
So number 1, highest tax bracket. Number 2, in addition to being in that highest tax bracket, you have almost no deductions. Like, what can you deduct as an employee? If you own a house, you can deduct your mortgage interest.
And actually, state by state, they're trying to figure out a way to take that away.
Right, and I think that it is.
I believe in New Jersey, and we'll kind of.
And I think on a federal level, it's at risk too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do some reading on that.
Yeah, we'll definitely do. So they're trying to take away that one, which almost everyone has always kind of taken for granted.
Right. So on your job, what can you deduct?
Right.
Maybe your clothing, only if you can use that clothing only for your job. So if you're a construction worker and you have a specific type of outfit that you couldn't wear like in your normal course of life. So it's very specific. If you're a salesperson and you buy a suit or a button-up shirt, you can wear that in your normal everyday life. That's technically not a write-off.
Maybe some childcare. But the point is you're very, very limited. I mean, the things you can write off as an employee probably could fit on one or two hands. So
definitely one hand.
So that's strike number 2. So again, what is the opposite of the least amount of deductions?
The most amount.
The most amount. And who has the most amount of deductions?
Investors, like in terms of real estate, in terms of being invested in the stock market, you're going to get the lowest tax bracket and the best deductions.
Right. So strike 1 is you're getting your money. In most cases, people are having their money taxed before they can even live or invest or save it.
Right. And that's strike 3 is that your money is being withheld, that your income is being withheld. So you have the highest tax bracket, the least amount of deductions, and your money is withheld before you get it.
And guys, those 3 things in culmination is the biggest reason that most people are, when we say broke, are living check to check, and they're just trying to make ends meet. And what do you love to say about making ends meet?
They're ends. They can't meet. Like they're ends. They're not supposed to meet. Like
it's kind of impossible. So, again, it's like running that rat wheel, and you're going to continue to run it. And it's just the way that the system and our society is being constructed. So again, we're very passionate about teaching people how to get off of that rat wheel onto the easy lane, as I like to call it.
And to start to transition your money. So it's a process, but transition your money from employee income to business income to investment income. And we have a very specific strategic way to show you how to do that. So you don't have to live as a pauper, so you can live in your royal glory as the kings and queens that you are.
Living your best life, they like to say, right?
Yes, an elevated lifestyle, life on the other side of ordinary. Like, who the heck wants an ordinary lifestyle? Nobody. You want an extraordinary lifestyle.
Right.
And that's what you dreamed about as a kid. And if you admit to yourself that the world and life is kind of beating you down a bit, but it's safe to dream again and to know that where you are now can get you to where you want to go if you implement some strategies.
Right. Our mantra is freedom, fulfillment, and happiness.
Yes. It just like gave me a little heart flutter for you to say that, because it's so true.
And throughout our experiences personally, throughout meeting thousands and thousands of people over the course of the years, and after working with hundreds and hundreds of people personally, I find those are things that everybody has in common, right? Everybody wants freedom, fulfillment, and happiness. And that's what we're very passionate about. We kind of made it our mission to try to deliver it to everybody who wants to do something about either getting it or getting more of it.
Yeah, and in a way that's accessible, in a way that can, like you said, deliver. It's just so important to me, because we've done so many things to help people, and I can't even tell you the dozens of people who we've shown, like even the first strategy that we teach in our MyFi Club, who have literally like changed their life, been able to get out of debt, been able to pay their car off early, gotten more money into their household on a monthly basis without having to ask for a raise or go get another job or work more hours or any of that. So that's actually the first training in our MyFi Members Club. Which I'm so excited about. So as we wrap up, we really wanted this to be something that was able to open your eyes to this slow, steady, quicksand kind of rut that people get themselves into, and how you can break out of it by applying a simple tax strategy. Did you have anything else to say?
No, let's wrap it up.
So if you want to learn more about the strategies that you need to break free from being broke, you can go to masteryourfinances.club/345. We're hosting a free workshop next week, and it will show you all of the tax strategies that we use, plus 4 other cash flow strategies that we use that allow you to have more cash flow in your life so that you can do all the things we were talking about.
And as a teaser, guys, again, we talked this whole video about taxes and getting your taxes and your money withheld. Well, the thing that determines that, and again, you control that. No one else controls that. You control that. That's the good news. But the magic number and letter is W4. So if you work a job right now, chances are when you started that job, you filled out a form that looks something like this. Thank you. Called the W4. And all that does, it tells your employer how much money to withhold from your paycheck every week to send to the government in the form of taxes.
And this is, like, you fill this out. Your HR, your boss, this doesn't affect them. They don't care how you fill it out. They just care that you do. And so many HR people don't train you how to do this properly, which is the biggest problem. This is the first mistake. No one, and in our experience, not even HR people. And we've talked to them.
Know how to do this. And again, their job isn't to teach you, isn't to educate you, really. It's not. Their job is to give you the form and tell you to fill it out when you're ready to start. Your job, hang on a sec. Yeah. Your job is to basically be smart enough and strategic enough to fill the form out to put yourself in the best position.
Right. So, and the HR managers that we've spoken to say that they don't tell you how to fill it out on purpose. Yeah. Because they don't want to be liable for you filling it out incorrectly. Right. And there's instructions on here, but the instructions can be confusing if you don't have someone explain it to you, which is why we explain it to you. Right.
We specifically have a Master Your W-4 training video. And mastering your W-4, what that looks like is the difference between where you're at now and increasing your cash flow, your take-home pay, anywhere from $300 to over $1,000 a month. Yep. And again, that can start in how long?
2 weeks on your very next paycheck.
That's the second part of the title, is how to fix it in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you literally have the power, kind of with our help and our guidance and expertise, how to increase your take-home pay, to stop living check to check, and to begin reversing a lot of those kind of, like you say, that's a really great way to say it, those quicksand-like things. Because quicksand, you really don't notice it. You just, it's so subtle, but it's happening. You're sinking. Mm-hmm. And the great thing that we teach people how to do through our W-4 training is how to reverse that literally within 2 weeks, the very next paycheck that you're scheduled to get.
And on that point about quicksand, like, that's so deep, because you're in quicksand now, and we see people who are in their 60s and 70s and aren't able to retire, and we tell ourselves, oh, we'll never be in that position. But we're following the same blueprint that those people taught us, and the old strategies don't work, and you have to apply new strategies to get new results. And if you feel like I might be in that quicksand and not even know it, then you have to register for this workshop. It's going to be so good. We're going to have music. It's going to be fun. It's going to be so great. So make sure you sign up. Don't miss it. Don't miss it.
Thanks for sticking with us throughout this live and video and eventual blog.
And yes, this will be up on our blog, and it'll be on YouTube. You can rewatch it here on Facebook as well. But whatever you do, make sure you go over to masteryourfinances.club/345 to sign up for the workshop. And with that, we are out of here.
So for Jared and Hallie, master your finances, and here's to your freedom, fulfillment, and happiness.
Bye, guys. Thanks.